So today I wanted to just talk about something that's sort of somewhat dear to me. Um because it was sort of somewhat like a unique experience in itself, because it's not something that's ever really happened to me in that nature or at that particular scale in relation to radius um, of effect or proximity of the event in general. So basically, you know, um, at some point in time, my father's health was deteriorating, or it was diminishing in one sense or another, and he was getting somewhat what some could consider of a particular age, but I don't think that would be the thing that would be the main point as to the general events of things, But my father passed away a while ago now, and that's just the thing that I wanted to talk about, because there's quite a lot of things attached to that particular event, and in so doing, or in the manifestation of things, it became quite drastic in itself, because to me, I'd never really had anyone that close to me pass away. Like, I've had family members pass away, but nobody really that of that particular radius, or somebody that had a significant impact on my life, not just wisdom wise or assistance wise, but biologically, in a sense, and spiritually in one aspect or another, him being a particular component in thought and memory. And in such an event occurring, it was pretty drastic, for me, for that to actually happen, because again, at the same time, like I'm saying, it never really happened before, and he always used to be very smug about it. As we're growing up, we would sort of state that that one day that will happen, and we won't have anyone to give us advice, etc., or whatever the case may be. And I was kind of I wasn't the most well behaved person, though I was aware of the mistakes I made. I think most of the things that I did were in the pursuit of love, or something like that. Like I remember this, most of the trouble that I got into school was because that I was trying to impress this one girl called Amber, and I would do all sorts of this weird shit, because apparently somebody told me that to get someone's attention, being a bad man would be the key thing. But I think that all of that in itself gave me the ability to actually have that, to articulate thought and wisdom, or gain that from him, because he'd always take the time and effort to actually instruct me in the right direction. But he always used to do that thing of saying, that one day he'll be gone and we won't have anyone to impart wisdom on us. And also you'd be like, it's important for me and anyone else to be prepared for that, just in case, because obviously he would express things from his childhood to me, which I won't go into, because again, at the same time, some of that stuff is a bit not my part to be sharing in essence at present. But he was pretty much that. And before his sort of passing, my mom's side, my mom always asked for things, whereas he never really asked for things. He asked for things for ourselves, right? So as I saw his health is deteriorating, I remember the one thing that he asked me for a long time ago. He asked me if it's possible, I remember him telling me that he wants to be buried back home, near his mother or something of that nature. And I just knew that he wanted to be buried back home. So I had to me, that was the thing that I instinctively remember him asking me for associating with him and his life as opposed to anything of mine, whereas like my mom and stuff like that would be more interested in, for me to get married, for me to have kids, etc. That type of stuff. Like she'd ask for that, whereas he didn't really ask for anything. So that kind of triggered me in that particular instance of things. And so that's what that was in itself. And and coming up to the day of his passing, for my own point of view of things, it was just like a thing of like observing, like this person is dead, like, and I didn't really know how to take that into fruition, because even just like observing the death in itself, to actually look at a person and be like, they're actually gone, and you actually look and you think to yourself like, like that's it, and it's weird as well, because his passing sort of imparted a weird sort of thing, it's a weird thing, because it was like a color. I don't know how to explain it. It's like it was weird. It was definitely weird, to say the least. And from what position he held in my mental state, as a linchpin for me and a connection to the other side of my family, and I looked up quite highly to him, so there was all this infusion of like spiritual and mental understandings, all embedded into this one thing, into this one component, which was somewhat bizarre, and it was quite difficult to even like think about it. I think later on, as I think about it now, it's kind of like sometimes I'm like, yeah, maybe the guy, because sometimes I see people and I'm like, yeah, man, could I be him, or like I'm like, which is kind of like fucked up, because obviously the guy is dead. Like you doubt it at times, but you're just looking, you're like, yeah, man, the guy, that's legit, what it is, in one aspect or another. And I think that regardless of the functions and capabilities and aspects regarding it, it's kind of like that. But then at the same time, I'm like, to myself, wishful thinking, like, yeah, maybe this is something else. So obviously I've been experimenting with the thought of time, like, yeah, maybe this is some type of other saga, like some time travel saga thing that I'm not aware of, and maybe this is the beginning of it, which I don't want that to be the case, in one sense. Some that he might be aware of. So because like sometimes when I'm walking, I swear to God, there's certain times when I see things and I'm like, this is a bit weird. It doesn't really make the most sense for me or to me, in relation to specific things. And and I think that there was always that level of comfort in relation to just like having that connection, not only just like knowing, but like mentally and spiritually in itself. Like I felt in tune every time I was always at home or around family. And so yeah, so that's a time travel saga. Besides that, like I'm just saying, like in terms of like maybe they will see other secret things that I wasn't aware of, which is always a thought of mine. And also just like some of the things that I do see, or like sometimes when I do see people that do remind me of him, or maybe it's a particular ghost or whatever. Because again, at the same time, when he did pass, it did take a long time to bury him, but to me, I felt that maybe it was the beginning of a wider chapter, or of more. Things. The time travel thing sounds a bit banal and a bit weird in a sense, but then at the same time, I'm just stating that maybe there was more to it, because it was a really iffy time, and there were things, and the way that everything sort of turned out, it just like with my thoughts, and maybe some of the smoking as well, and also some of the things that I do see at times. It just makes me think and wonder that there are things out there that I don't understand, but maybe I'm not ready to understand yet. And I do trust that, if there was something, I know that he'd be wise enough to make the right decisions if he was in a particular position of influence or capability to navigate things accordingly. But that was pretty much that, really. So there was a whole aspect of having to take him back home, or back where we're from, and that was pretty difficult because for me as well it was a really interesting time. It meant a lot, and my mind state was very different in relation to a lot of things. So I think that was the key thing, and that was definitely one of the bigger things there in relation to things, because obviously like we always had to abide by a level of respect. That was a must and a requirement for all, if not most things. So because of work and stuff like that, like I missed a lot of the events that were going on in relation to him, and and there was just like a lot of communications back and forth. He was a people person as well, to one degree or another. And it was just like, this dude's kind of like gone, and I wasn't really sure how things were gonna be. And the one thing I really didn't want to lose, or anything I wanted to lose access to, was like the enclosure, in terms of like where we lived and stuff, because I felt that, to me, that was a deep thing that had a deep connection in regards to the etheric nature of my perceived understanding of reality, and also a fundamental part to connecting to the rest of the overall family environment. But regardless of the nature of things, these are things that were going through my head, and I was really panicky about things, and so just me missing a lot of the stuff really impacted or played in my head a bit. But at least, as a family group, we kind of made that decision and made it a reality to actually have him go back home. And for me, it was fundamental as well, because it really meant a lot. It really had a deep impact on my core being, because it's where he's from, and it's where I'm from, and it's just one of those things. It really had a fundamental impact on my perception of reality, on my perception of understanding things, regardless of things, but it took a while though. So quite some of the mourning had already happened, some of the crying and stuff had already happened, so it took a while, but we managed to get that sorted. Family we're taking care of it. We have quite a pretty large family, especially kids. He had quite a few. We're somewhat close, but it was variable. Quite dynamic situation there, which I'm not going to go into. But we're somewhat close. We're all respective of each other in one sense or another. But I think that we think and we have political opinions, just as you would imagine in a large family. But we are somewhat at the fundamental core respective of each other, regardless of the situation. Like, even if we're having a disagreement, if someone comes up and comes in an apologetic manner, there's no one who's ever going to say no or take it to the point where, so we are respective of each other. But as being individuals who have been exposed to each other for so long, you can just imagine what situations are like. So I'm not going to go into depth about that, but again, we have love for each other, so we managed to make that happen. And so yeah, so going there was interesting, to say the least. It played a part of my psyche, because again, I think that it's important to have people look at you who are different to the people that you're used to looking at you. It really changes who you are, and I imagine that as well. The time thing would definitely make things a bit different in relation to how things function and what things are. I wasn't really theorizing about time a lot at that point, though I was metaphysical in one sense or another. But yeah, so pretty much went there to Zimbabwe and was about. Yeah, pretty much. It was pretty decent, to be fair. It was just really weird, though. Like, it was weird because my body was shook in a different manner. It's like I got switched direction, because I switched perception. There was definitely a lot of different things, like different emotions, just different things, but at the same time, like, I felt good. Felt good, considering that I felt enriched and empowered. Even till this day, like, I still sense an ether of something, especially of my father from now and then. The nigga be, I don't know if the nigga be haunting a guy, but I'm sure we're probably all haunted, I guess, a bit here and there. Likely, but probably just don't speak about it. And for me, it's a bit creepy because it's kind of like, dude. Or maybe there's something deeper and more going on that I'm not aware of. But yeah, so pretty much when we were there, we went like to the outskirts, like to home. Like yeah, where we're from kind of thing. The first night was kind of, it was just like, it was all just, I'm not gonna go too deep into it, but like, went for a couple of drinks. So that was a bit disrespectful though, again at the same time. But then we're just being in existence. Went for a couple of drinks at the local pub. And they don't really get many visitors, and they're just really cool because we're just sitting there, just YOLOing. And for me, it would have been the same place where he would have drank as well when he was, in his teens or whatever the case may be. Like, I don't really drink much, but yeah, man, it would have been the same place. They were like just like vibes. And it was the same place, so it was really great, and I felt good. Not felt good for like drinking or whatever. I didn't really black out or anything like that. I was pretty much alright. And some of my mom's family were there as well. One or two family members there. And there were just people there, and I definitely want to go visit again. Like the country, the place, maybe have things that are actually doing there. But then at the same time, I think I'm gonna take my own time. I'm definitely gonna make sure to do that at some point in time, to actually go there and actually just be in tune again. And see more. Like, I definitely like to visit other places. Yeah, like one or two places I could name, but I'm not going to at the moment. Like, like maybe I would definitely like to see the school that I went to, one or two schools that I made it. attended there. Just a couple places that maybe I might have in memory. Definitely, I could name a few things, the places that are definitely to visit. But I think definitely it's important, and it was great for me to do that because it felt different. Even just like arriving, it felt different. It was a completely different experience, and I got to see family members that I hadn't seen in a long time. So that really shook my system a bit, but it was really great overall. And then I know that the guys like gone, and I've never really heard of But again, at the same time, like why should he, even though he's gone, why should he be excluded from my theoretical time conceptions? Maybe the person shouldn't. I would like to see the dude or people of resemblance, because I wouldn't even know how to do it. Do you know how weird that'd be? Like just like going to a person in the middle of the street, like, dude, like is that you? That's weird. That's some weird shit. So you can't really do that. But then at the same time, I'm just like, you know, just like taking that opportunity to just be like, to learn from that and really expand from that and really just be more in tune with the core of who I am and what makes me be who I be. And and that it's weird because it's kind of like etheric in one sense or another, like the whole process, to be fair. Yeah, it's etheric. And even though he was gone, and also post pandemic, like I'm saying, even if it was a time thing, even beginning of a saga, of a time saga, whatever the case may be, it's kind of bizarre because again at the same time it's been like 3 years, no contact or whatever. But then that's beside the point because that's not what it is. But then for me, even seeing like my uncle, or my father's brother, it was kind of like it was pretty decent because again at the same time, I felt like I really felt like I hadn't really lost anything but gained something, which really felt great. And seeing it made me feel really happy. I felt like that guidance and wisdom that I felt that I lost was actually there. And I saw some of my cousins as well. Electrocute. It's funny. No, but it's cool though. Some of them are pretty cool, yeah. And we turned up and we, yeah, and it was great. It was an interesting experience. Definitely an interesting experience. Of it was, of which I would And so for me, because for me as well, it's been so long, I feel kind of embarrassed because even though other people have passed away, I haven't really been in touch with the fam. I've just been busy getting high and stuff. So no, really, that's not what I'm doing. I'm doing other things, But then at the same time, it's like I haven't really got in touch with the family, and I feel kind of embarrassed of that. Other people died and stuff like that, and things of that nature occurred. I don't really know who and when and whereabouts or what. And I've been notified, but I didn't really take full note of it. And I'm not even part of the group chats anymore. Because the phone and the number I had at the time is pretty much gone. So I missed out on a lot of things. But that's my intention to reconnect again, but in a more meaningful way and in a direct full manner in relation to the things that I want to achieve and the connections I want to make, because I know who I'm missing in my memory, and I know who I need to get in touch with again, and I know what I'm sort of aiming to achieve. I think the moment my focus would be realigning to probably some offset stuff. I'll probably be focusing on just like a little bit more hacking things, because I feel like that's definitely important to my side of things. I don't know if I'm gonna reconnect this year or maybe beginning next year or whatever the case may be. But I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm like, if there's more to this than what there is, because again, at the same time, there always is, based on who I am and my own understanding of things. I will begin with probably the first thing is to finalize role, and then finalize skill set, just for my own being and my own ego, and then proceed onwards. Is what's key here. And I know that there's nothing more to it, but like there's definitely a level of curiosity just due to what I experienced, or how I experienced the event, what I missed out on, and what I was included in, and what I haven't been a part of, right? And based on what I've been thinking and what I've been reading, etc. So like one of the things I've been reading is about the impossibility of death, or the impossibility of dying, etc. Universal constants and this, that, and the other. But I'm not ready for those things in my reality yet. Is basically where I'm at. Though I read things and I gain a good understanding about how things function, they're not ready to be in my reality yet. To a specified point in time. But again, at the same time, I think it's just one of those things of just understanding and really taking from the experience and really making more of it is what I aim to do, and it's what I pretty much I believe I have achieved, and getting a better understanding about my psychobiological nature in one sense or another is definitely key to everything, because the mind and external things is connected to the physiology of one's own functions. So that's what important things, and I think I think about taking that on, and hopefully over time things will things will be made more manifest. And I just wanted to sort of just speak on that briefly. Thanks for listening to those who did.